Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. We've been talking for months now about the ongoing crisis at our border. And by crisis, I mean a man-made crisis. It doesn't need to exist. It's not Hurricane Florence. This is something that our government has chosen to do and to continue. And unfortunately, despite a huge amount of national and media attention on this story a few months back, now not quite as much. But thankfully, the New York Times continuing to do reporting on what's going down at the border. And so we now know that the number of children being detained, generally at the border, although in some facilities around the country, is now at record highs. Population levels at federally contracted shelters for migrant children have gone up fivefold since last summer, reaching a total of 12,800. So this is not the same exact thing as the separations that were happening earlier, obviously. But the numbers are far, far higher. To put it in context, in May of last year, there were 2,400 kids in that situation. So a fivefold increase, despite the fact that Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and all of the xenophobic, anti-immigrant people say that all of the terrible things they've done have been to dissuade people from coming across the border. So those numbers should be going down. But instead, they have skyrocketed up. And apparently one of the reasons is that relatives and family friends of the children that are coming across unaccompanied are now so terrified of what could happen to them if they come forward to claim these kids that they're not. So they are staying forcibly separated effectively by government policy from their kids. The kids are gonna be staying in these facilities for God knows how long as the number continues to go up.
Yeah, so just to break it down further, the article in the Times was based on leaked documents that somebody in the House had shared with a reporter there, and they couldn't tell exactly why the process for it. So it's the same problem that we've been grappling with for however many years now of mostly Central American teenagers fleeing like excessive and horrendous amounts of gang violence.
Yeah.
It's so weird that they don't like read Stephen Miller's like policy tweets and then think, you know what, actually. I can cook meth, it's cool, like it's fine. But yeah, so that problem has grown exponentially because the process by which they are then like rehomed. So what happens when an unaccompanied child comes into America is they don't get put in a detention center like we do with the adults, keep them in a cage because they're claiming asylum, criminals. We basically put them in a system that's akin to the foster care system. But with this, for some reason, and there's a significant chunk of those where like a family member or a relative or a friend of the family has been prearranged ahead of time to like liaise with them at some point once they've put their asylum claim in. And yes, the fear factor is there, which I think is holding up why some of these kids aren't being put into homes. But I also think that there's just generally like a second guessing of like every single step in the process, and it's a complete mess. And what happened during the summer threw everything into chaos. And these are children that are like, what did you do in your 8th grade summer? Oh, I spent my time in a cage or in a tent. And that some of them are intense, and it reminds me of
tent cities.
Yeah, it just reminds me of the tent cities you see in Jordan with the refugees there. And listen, we're paying exponentially for those as well.
Yeah, crazy amount. Every time one of these stories comes out, there's more information about the expansion of these tent cities, how they're expecting we're gonna need more. Because some of these facilities apparently last year were at like 30% capacity.
Yeah.
Now they're at in the 90s. But I haven't seen anything from the government that indicates that they're gonna be changing their policy to make it less likely that they'll be holding more of these kids in for longer. So what's in the 90s after 1 year of this policy, God only knows what it'll be at next year. And by the way, when they feel the emergency need to put the kids elsewhere, do you believe that the standards they will apply to the facilities in the future will be stringent? I don't think so. What about the people who are gonna be managing these kids? Are they gonna be carefully watching what sorts of people these are? Well, that already hasn't been happening before the major emergency happens.
Yeah, well, one of the kind of side effects of the outcry over the child separations was, I guess, semi-beneficial in that there was like much higher scrutiny on scandals that were happening at these facilities, which of course, it's just a numbers game. I'm sorry, but if you have thousands and thousands of teenagers and kids and also people who aren't necessarily trained to be around children, they've some of them have just had like a background check.
Yeah.
There were incidents of molestation, of assault, of
forced medication,
and they're not child. I know they're not your kids, and I know that they're brown kids, but I don't think. Do you want to hurt them all the time? Like, do we want to pay through the
Probably
nose
not our
to hurt
listeners.
them all the time? Yeah, I don't know who I'm talking to. Invisible crazy person.
Not you. She's talking to the president. He's invisible and crazy. Yes. So again, 12,800 kids. We knew it was an emergency earlier this year. Some people might believe that things have become better. But no, they're quite literally 5 times worse. So just bear that in mind as we move towards these midterms. And again, just to really ram home that things are only as bad as they've ever been, no, they're at least 5 times worse in one easily identifiable metric.
Oh, sorry, one last thing on that is that it's being spun as like, see, we need to fix our broken system. And it's just,
We do need to fix our broken system, but this is not fixing it. This is breaking it in all new ways that we hadn't previously known about. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notified of our new videos. And catch the Damage Report every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.